Algebra 1, lesson 10.2, multiplying polynomials. That's what we're going to do. We're going to multiply two polynomials, use them in real life situations beginning on 584. We have a definition of FOIL to begin. FOIL. It's just an acronym that stands for first, outer, inner, last. Most people understand the difference between the first terms and the last terms, but get confused with the outer and inner terms. If you're looking at two binomials. We talked about the difference between monomials, binomials, and trinomials last week. If you're talking about multiplying two binomials, the inside is, if you think about in terms of a dartboard, the ones that are closer to the middle. That's what inside means. The outside are the ones on the outside. So just think of it in terms of a circle or a dartboard when you're talking about inside and outside. The first way to multiply polynomials, in this case binomials, is to use the distributive property. We're already familiar with multiplying one term by two or more terms inside of parentheses. All this is taking an extra term and putting it with it. So we have x minus 5 times x plus 7. So we're going to take the x and multiply it by x plus 7, and we're going to take the negative 5, remember the sign goes with it, and multiply that times x plus 7. You just distributed it to both of those terms. That's why we call it the distributive property. And then after, right on the right-hand side says that if the number outside of the parentheses comes after it, you do the exact same thing. So x multiplies times x to get x squared, and times 7 to get 7x. Negative 5 multiplies by x to get negative 5x, and times 7 to get negative 35. So we have x squared plus 7x minus 5x minus 35. Once you get everything multiplied, then you have to combine any like terms. Remember, like terms, you're able to combine them if they have the exact same variable raised to the exact same exponent. So we cannot combine x squared with anything up here because there's only one x squared. But we have two x to the first powers. All you have to do is look at the degree of that exponent. 7 plus a negative 5, or simply 7 minus 5, gives you negative 2x for there. So x squared plus 2x minus 35. And again, we can't combine any of those because none of those are like terms. This is simplified, or this is finding the product of two binomials when you multiply them by each other. On the side, right next to it, or on the back, whatever's easier, multiply these two, x plus 8 times x minus 7. Use the distributive property and take about 30 seconds, and we'll go over it in 30 seconds. Okay, first you have two terms. You got x and you got positive 8. So we want to multiply x times the binomial, x minus 7. When you do that, x times x is x squared. Remember, you add the exponents. And x times negative 7 is negative 7x. You also do the same thing with positive 8. So you have plus 8 times the binomial x minus 7. 8 times x is positive 8x, and 8 times negative 7 is negative 56. That's the distributive property for both the x and the positive 8. After you do that, make sure you combine the like terms. Typically, when you do things like this, the like terms will be in the middle. You can see them very easily. Negative 7x and positive 8x. When you combine those two, you get positive 1x. The rest of it will stay the same. X squared plus x minus 56. Here it is. When you find the product of two binomials, x squared plus x minus 56. The next way we'll do it to go ahead and multiply is we'll use the FOIL method, FOIL, first, outer, inner, last. So what you do is you multiply your first, that's what F stands for, your first two terms, x times 7x. So when you multiply those, you get 7x squared, because you add the exponents 1 and 1. 7x squared. O stands for the outside. Again, think of it in terms of inside the dartboard, outside the dartboard. Those are the terms that you use. So you multiply x times 1 to get a positive 1x. And I'm going to write in the 1 just for a placeholder. Positive 1x. I in FOIL stands for the inner terms. Again, think of it in terms of a dartboard. The inner two terms are the ones you multiply by. So when you multiply negative 5, don't forget the sign, times 7x, we get negative 35x. And L stands for last two terms. If x and 7x were the first two terms, then negative 5x and positive 1 are your last two terms. That gives you negative 5. So now we have four different terms, 7x squared plus x minus 35x minus 5. Then all you have to do is combine your like terms. There are only two like terms up here, the ones that have the degree 1x to the first power, 1x, and negative 35x. When you put those two together, you get negative 34x. The rest of it will stay the same. 7x squared minus 34x minus 5. FOIL, first, outer, inner, last. FOIL. Again, on the side of the page, there's plenty of white space right next to it, or on the back, wherever way you want to fit it. Do this one. Use the FOIL method, 2x plus 3 times 5x plus 1. Again, I'm showing you two different methods, the distributive method and the FOIL method, and whichever way you prefer to use after you get good at one of them, you can stick with. Again, the FOIL method, FOIL, FOIL. Those are the ones we're going to multiply. F stands for first two terms. The first terms are 2x and 5x. When you multiply those two together, 2 times 5 is 10. X times x, you add the exponents, is x squared. O are your outside terms. Again, think of the dartboard. Inside versus outside. Center versus on the edge. 2x and 1. Those are your outside terms. 2x times 1 is positive 2x. I are your inside terms. 3, again, think of the dartboard, and 5x. 3 times 5x is positive 15x. And L stands for your last two terms. 3 and 1. 3 times 1 is positive 3. Combine your like terms. Remember, your like terms are the ones that have same variable, same exponent. 2x and 15x is positive 17x. The rest of it will stay just like it is. 10x squared and positive 3. 10x squared plus 17x plus 3. That's finding the product using the FOIL method. First, outer, inner, last. Now that's multiplying two binomials. But we're dealing with all polynomials. So what if you don't have two binomials? You can't use the FOIL method. Here is an instance in one we have. And we have that. 4 minus x times 8 minus 11x plus x squared. We have a binomial multiplied by a trinomial, 2 terms multiplied by 3 terms. This is the vertical method. Vertically means you stack them on top of each other. They're up and down. You multiply, you use the distributive property and multiply 8 times 4 and times negative x. 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times negative x is negative 8x. Just like when you multiply more than one number, like when you multiply 2 or more numbers by 2 or more numbers, on the next line, we're going to skip ourselves a little space as a placeholder. And we're going to multiply negative 11x times 4 and times negative x. Times 4 gives you negative 44x, and negative 11x times negative x, a negative times a negative, is going to be a positive 11x squared. So notice, here's the space we skipped. Negative 11x times 4 gave us a negative 44x, and negative 11x times negative x is positive 11x. Then we're going to skip 2 spaces for the next one, and we're going to multiply x squared times all of them. X squared times 4 and times negative x. X squared times 4 is positive 4x. X squared times negative x is negative x to the 3rd power. So notice we skipped 2 spaces in that instance. Now all you do is combine all of the vertical columns. There's only one x to the 3rd, only 1/3 degree, so you have negative x to the 3rd. There are 2x squared, so you combine 11 and 4 to get positive 15x squared. There are 2 first degrees, x to the 1st power, so you combine negative 8 and negative 44. Same sign, you add them up, and you get negative 52 x to the 1st power. And then there's only one constant term, only one 0 degree. 32, so plus 32. And that's simplified because in the vertical setup, we actually create all of the like terms by stacking them on top of each other. And then once we combine them, we have negative x to the 3rd plus 15x squared minus 52x plus 32. So again, one more time, use the vertical method, and either in the margin or on the side, multiply x minus 4 times 5x plus 9 minus 2x squared. On the example, it separated the trinomial into 3 different steps. What you can do to make it a little quicker is to separate the binomial into 3 steps. So make it say 5x plus 9 minus 2x squared times x minus 4. And we're multiplying this whole thing. So negative 4 is going to multiply by all of the terms. Negative 4 times negative 2x squared, a negative times a negative, is going to give us a positive 8x squared. It's also going to multiply by 9. Negative 4 times 9 is negative 36, and it's going to multiply by 5x. Negative 4 times 5x is negative 20x. That's multiplying negative 4 by all 3 of the terms. Also multiply the other term, x, by all of the terms. X times negative 2x. Remember, we have to skip a place here. X times negative 2x squared is negative 2x. You add the exponents to get x to the third. X times 9 is positive 9x. And x times 5x is positive 5x squared. Now, unlike the example, as we're looking at these, the like terms are not stacked here. We don't have, because our trinomial was not written in standard form. The largest degree wasn't first. So we have to reorder it to make it stacked on top of that. So what we have is we have a placeholder in place of where the constant term is going to be. And we can see that because what I have written in blue up here, there is no constant term there. So if we reorder that top line or the red one, it's going to say a positive 8x squared. Then it's going to say negative 20x. Then it's going to say negative 36. If we reorder the blue one, the largest degree is first. It says x cubed, so it's going to say negative 2x cubed. Then positive 5x squared. Then uh, positive 9x, and then the placeholder right there. Now they're stacked correctly. There's only one x to the third, negative 2x to the third. There are two x squared, so you combine those like terms, 8 and 5, to get positive 13x squared. There are 2x to the first, so you combine negative 20 and positive 9 to get negative 11x to the first. And there's only one constant term, negative 36, so negative 36. Here is your polynomial when you multiply the binomial times the trinomial using the vertical method. Now, most people don't use the vertical method, not because it's a bad method, but it seems longer for most people. Most people prefer the next method, the horizontal method. 2x cubed minus 9x squared minus 11x times 2 minus x squared. Multiply 2 minus x squared by each term. So what we're doing is we're going to take 2, just like we did a little while ago, the very first example, and we're going to multiply it by everything. 2 times 2x cubed is 4x cubed. 2 times negative 9x squared is negative 18x squared. And 2 times negative 11x is negative 22x. We're going to do the same thing with the negative x squared. Negative x squared times 2x is negative. Then you have x squared times x cubed. You add x to the 2 plus 3 is x to the 5th. Negative x squared times negative 9x squared. A negative times a negative is a positive 9x. You add the exponents 2 and 2 to get x to the 4th. And negative x squared times negative 11x. You again, negative times a negative is a positive 11. You add the exponent squared plus 1 to get x to the third. So what we have here is everything that I just drew with the red and the blue, but it's all separated. 2x to the third times the binomial. They just did it the other way. Negative 9x squared times the binomial and negative 11x times the binomial. But it's the same thing that I have drawn with the arrows. Once you do that, you get 4x cubed minus 2x to the 5th minus 18x squared plus 9x to the 4th minus 22x plus 11x cubed. All you need to do from this point is combine your like terms and write it in standard form, putting the largest degree first. What is the largest degree we have up here? X to the what? We got x to the 5th right here. There's only one of them. So that's going to go first. Negative 2, x to the 5th. That's the next largest degree we have. X to the 4th. Remember, you count down with the exponents. There's only one x to the 4th. So it's just going to say plus 9x to the 4th. What's the next largest degree we have? X to the 3rd power. So we have this one and we have this one. We have 4 and positive 11. So when you put those two together, you get plus 15x to the 3rd. What's the next biggest degree we got? X squared. That's this one right here. There's only one. So negative 18x squared. And then finally, the last degree we have is x to the first power, this one right here, to get negative 22x. So negative 2x to the fifth plus 9x to the fourth plus 15x cubed minus 18x squared minus 22x. On the back, one more time, everybody. Let's do this one. 5x squared minus x minus 3 times 6x minus 5.